Going down with Alice. Alice is marrying one of
Over 2 million people each year watch the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, a ceremony which is quintessentially associated with the British monarchy, Buckingham Palace, and the British character in the public mind. The sight of a foot guard soldier in scarlet tunic and tall bearskin cap stationed at a sentry box at the palace has become iconic. The changing of the guard is carried out by operational troops, most of whom have served in Iraq or Afghanistan. While serving as the Queen's Guard, as they are known at the palace, they take on the important role of guarding the sovereign and her London residences. During the ceremony, which is also known as guard mounting, one regiment ends its shift guarding Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace, and another begins theirs. Guard mounting is carried out by the 5 regiments of the Foot Guards, the 1st or Grenadier Regiment of Foot Guards, the Coldstream Guards, the Scots Guards, the Irish Guards, and the Welsh Guards. You can tell the different regiments apart by a number of variations in their uniforms, including their button spacings, collar badges, and the plumes in their bearskin caps. The soldiers on parade are working soldiers who undertake many other military duties, and most of them have seen active service overseas. Occasionally, when a regiment is serving overseas, a guest regiment will take part in the ceremony. Here we can see visiting regiments on parade, a Malaysian regiment and the RAF regiment. Inviting regiments in from other areas of the armed forces can help foster important relationships and helps to share the honour and the privilege of guarding the palace. The Foot Guards have guarded the sovereign since the 17th century, and the ceremony, as it is seen today, roughly dates back to the advent of Buckingham House as a royal residence in 1837, when Queen Victoria took up residence. Though all of the attention is focused on Buckingham Palace, the action of the ceremony takes place between 3 important spots in central London, all of which are just a few minutes' walk from each other. These are the residences which need guarding: Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace, and the home of the guards themselves, Wellington Barracks. 2 detachments or groups of soldiers are on duty at any one time, one at Buckingham Palace and one at St James's Palace. Both detachments are supplied by the same regiment. The ceremony begins to build just after 11 a.m. as the soldiers who are finishing their shift, who are referred to as the Old Guard, congregate in the forecourt at Buckingham Palace. Those who have been on their shift at St James's Palace parade on Friary Court, which is just off the Mall on Marlborough Road, before marching from there to Buckingham Palace to meet up with their colleagues. Just a few minutes' walk from Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace is something of a well-kept secret. With no barriers or large crowds, it's a particularly good place for families with young children to watch the Foot Guards parading. Often forgotten in favour of Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace is still the official centre of the royal court. Foreign ambassadors are still accredited to the court of St James's, and numerous royal receptions and events take place throughout the year. With the Old Guard now assembled on the forecourt at Buckingham Palace, we're just waiting for the regiment taking over the shift, known as the New Guard, to arrive. The New Guard comes from Wellington Barracks, just a few minutes' march from Buckingham Palace on Birdcage Walk. They are inspected on the parade ground at the barracks before leaving for the palace, and can be seen by the public from the wide pavement on Birdcage Walk. When the New Guard arrives at Buckingham Palace, it halts, turns to face the Old Guard, and then joins the ceremony by slow marching into position. Each regiment has its own signature slow march tune. The slow march is a dignified way for the New Guard to join the parade, and harks back to the days when battles were fought as set pieces in slow time. The Old and New Guard then show their mutual respect for each other or pay compliment to each other by presenting arms or displaying their weapons. Then the 2 captains march forward and meet in the centre of the forecourt. They will touch left hands, symbolically handing over the keys of the palace. The act is symbolic, as the palace is never actually locked up nowadays. It's clearly guarded 24 hours a day. In the act of touching hands, the responsibility for the safety of the palace and its occupants is symbolically handed over from Old Guard to New. During the ceremony, you will notice a flag being carried by both the old and new guards. This is the regimental flag, which is known as the colour. The colour was once used as a rallying point in battle. Each regiment has a different colour, which carries the names of famous battle honours, which the regiment has been awarded, and therefore acts as a visible and poignant memorial to comrades who have been lost in battle, and as the spiritual heart of each regiment. Officers from the old and new guard now proceed to the guard room at Buckingham Palace, where they hand over the ammunition and discuss royal movements expected over the next 24 hours. During the 24-hour shift, soldiers from the regiment on duty take it in turns to be on sentry duty for 2 hours at a time. They must be alert at all times, ready to react to any threats to the palace or to its occupants. Whilst the officers are in the guardroom, sentries from the new guard assume their positions. The corporals march small detachments of guardsmen to the sentry posts and halt at each one. The corporal inspects the state of the sentry box and reads out the very specific instructions relating to that sentry post. These include the compliments to pay visiting VIPs and what to do in the event of an emergency. Meanwhile, some of the new guards have to march to St James's to take up their sentry positions and to send the old guard sentries to Buckingham Palace at the end of their shift. This can all take some time, so to keep the public amused, the band forms a circle in the centre of the forecourt to play a selection of music, one of the highlights of the ceremony. Music ranges from classical favourites to military music to pop music. Members of the public are often quite surprised to find that some of the most popular medleys are those of ABBA songs or James Bond theme tunes. Music is an important part of the ceremony of the changing of the guard. It provides support to the troops who are marching to and from their place of duty and adds dignity and sometimes a touch of fun to the ceremony itself. Once the St James's Palace sentries have arrived at Buckingham Palace at the end of their shift, the ceremony is over and the two regiments can leave the forecourt at Buckingham Palace as the new shift begins. If you would like to see the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, you can check the times and dates on the royal website. The ceremony usually takes place daily during the summer months and on alternate days for the rest of the year. Oh, and don't forget the Guards Museum at Wellington Barracks on Birdcage Walk. A spectacular ceremony involving military precision, musical flair and living history. Changing the guard should not be missed by anybody planning to visit London.